I think when people start to see their experience, their wisdom and their knowledge as an asset instead of something to downplay, it really does change everything.
You're listening to Fuzzled, where structure beats hustle every time. If you want marketing that's designed, not reactive, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Fuzzled, from confusion to clarity. This is the podcast for thoughtful founders who want their marketing to make sense. Each week we take a real-world business topic and look at it through a structural lens. What actually works, what creates noise, and how to design systems that stabilize your growth so you can become a recognized expert online. So today's episode is about something many business founders quietly navigate at some point in their career, and that is reinvention. So not the dramatic kind that we sometimes see online, but the quieter shift that happens when experience, identity, and ambition begin to realign. So today, joining me to talk about this is Rachael Lawrence. Rachael is a best-selling author and award-winning personal brand mentor. She works with entrepreneurs and ambitious midlife women who are ready to move beyond imposter syndrome and build a personal brand that reflects who they truly are now. Her work focuses on helping women step into more visibility, impact, and income whilst embracing their lived experience and expertise. So let's go and meet Rachael in the Big Breakdown. Hi, Rachael. Welcome to the Fuzzled podcast.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited about today's show.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's so good for you to be here. So the topic we're going to talk about is midlife reinvention, which is very intriguing. We've certainly not talked about this topic beforehand in Fuzzled, and I think it's going to really resonate with our audience. It resonates with myself as well, because I think I've been through a bit of a reinvention in the last few years. So I know that some people might find that reinvention might sound a little bit unsettling, like a hard reset, as it were. But I know that your perspective is that it's actually an opportunity. So that got me thinking in terms of, well, that's probably right. It is an opportunity. And people who don't see it as an opportunity probably just need to change their mindset. So I'm going to start there. So my first question for you is, what are the biggest mindset shifts that women need to make in order to step into an authentic personal brand at midlife?
So I think the biggest shift is moving from seeking approval to actually claiming your authority. And I've spent a lot of time with women who, and men to be fair, who've spent decades being the reliable one, the capable one, the person that keeps everything together, but they're still quietly asking permission to be visible and to charge what they're worth and to lead. And I really think that there's this cultural narrative that midlife tends to be when things start to fall apart and decline. But what I actually see is midlife is often the moment when you finally wake up to who you are. I think when people start to see their experience, their wisdom and their knowledge as an asset instead of something to downplay, it really does change everything. And you start to get crystal clear with your voice, with your message, and your confidence grows naturally. And I think in midlife, you really start to recognize that, and that you're showing up more authentically as yourself rather than this polished version that you would normally put out there to the world.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's about stepping into your lived experience, isn't it? And really appreciating everything that you have achieved and celebrating that. I read something recently in terms of the best time to start a business, or the best time to become an entrepreneur. Because a lot of people think it's in your 20s or in your 30s, you start a business at that time. But actually the best time that this article was saying is when you're kind of in your 40s or better in your early 50s, because you have so much lived experience. And it's more so now because if you've got the lived experience that you can give to your clients, that's not the type of advice that you can gain from AI assistant. So nothing beats lived experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think, your stories and people really resonate with those, and people really see your authenticity when you're sharing those stories and your experience and wisdom. They've got so much more value attached to them. And like you say, with AI, yes, you can outline what your messaging can be, but it has no personality to it, and it doesn't showcase who you really are. And that's what people resonate with, and that's what people want more now than ever.
Yeah, I think that lived experience is so powerful. So we should learn how to use it. Definitely. I know that a lot of people who are midlife and they go on to have their own business, they can be, what I'd say, is a little bit wobbly in terms of their capability and their confidence. So I know that you help a lot of capable women who still experience what we call imposter syndrome. So even when they have years of experience, there might be years of corporate experience there as well. So what are the most common barriers you see that keep women stuck in that space of imposter syndrome?
Well, number one, I think women have been conditioned to question themselves constantly, and they wait until they feel ready, until they know everything, until they have the perfect plan. And actually, in doing that, they're not trusting themselves. And like we've just explained, they're not trusting their stories and their wisdom because they've just been so conditioned to keep quiet and pipe down. And it's one of the biggest fears is for women, especially, that I see every single day, is fear of being judged and fear of being visible, fear of being criticized. And that's what it boils down to. So imposter syndrome has many lenses, I feel, but the real one that really I see every single day is that they've been so conditioned to keep quiet, and they're polishing everything to perfection that it stops them from actually taking the action that they need to do in their life and in their business. And it all boils down to fear. And as I say, it's fear of being seen, of being judged, and of being visible, and not being good enough as well. That's another one that comes up all the time, fear of not being good enough. And yet these women have been so capable throughout their whole lives. They've run businesses, or they've had careers, they've brought up families, they've dealt with life's curveballs, and yet they still question themselves every single day.
So is it a case of empowerment then? If somebody feels like that, how would you take somebody from where they are now in terms of feeling that imposter syndrome and becoming more empowered, or being able to drop the fears of visibility and fears of actually getting out there and being a recognized expert online?
I really feel that if you go back to remembering who you were before life told you that you weren't good enough, before self-doubt crept up on you. And the way I take my clients through that is we go back to basics. We go back to their values, and we identify the top 5 values that they really align with now and who they are now versus who they were 5 years, 10 years ago, because our values can change, because our stories and our experiences do shape us. So it's really important that we take the time to go back to basics and to work out, okay, what do I stand for now? What's really important to me? And what are my top values? And that's the starting point that I take my clients through, is just getting them to spend a short amount of time picking out their top 5. And then we start from there, and we start to shape their messaging about who they are now, who they help, how they help them, what's the transformation they offer. Even if they don't have businesses, even if they're employed, what is it you do in your workplace? What is the transformation that you deliver there? What do you do really well and that you're really well known for? And when you start to scratch that surface again and uncover those things, they start to remember who they are or who they were. And And that starts to help them with their confidence come back, and it shuts down that inner critic by saying to it, actually, I do know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. And it's little steps like that taken every single day that helps to ditch the imposter syndrome on the daily.
Yeah, I think your original self is always there, isn't it? But it can get a little bit clouded or buried by life events. So I think it's really liberating, or I imagine it's really liberating to go through that process, to actually get back to who you are and who you are now. So what's a major moment for yourself then, Rachel, in terms of your own journey, where you went from feeling stuck to confidently owning your work and your own worth?
So it wasn't actually that long ago, Paul. It was just over a year ago when I was sitting down to write my book. And there's, thousands and thousands of books out there on confidence. So who am I to write a book about confidence? But I didn't write the book coming from the pedestal of being really confident. I was writing it from a place of, what do I need to hear? What do I need to see? Who do I need to embody to feel confident? And I'd taken all my notes and all my frameworks that I'd worked with over the last few years of what's really helped me. And I started to shape them into chapters and eventually into my book. And that in itself started to polish my messaging. And over time, and it wasn't quick, it has taken a long time, like months and months of trying to get clear on my messaging now of who I am, what I stand for, who I help, and the transformation that I offer my clients. That took a while, but my first step was working out my values, working out my personal brand promise statements, and then leading authentically from that place and knowing that my values were really important to me. And as soon as I started leading from that place and positioning myself from that place, my messaging became so much more clearer.
I think that's a great thing for you to say, really, because it really aligns with the podcast here. So, yeah, we're called Fuzzled, but it's a tagline, really, which I'm alluding to here, from confusion to clarity. It's basically the transformation that I provide. I do find a lot of people are in that confused state, even if they don't think they are. There usually is some confusion, but to find that clarity, I think it can be a long journey at times for people. So it's a great thing to help people through. So when people do have that confusion and they feel lost still with the next steps, whether it's career direction or it's their own brand identity, what practical steps help them regain clarity, do you think?
Well, like I said, it's initially about working out who you are now versus who you were 5 years ago. Yeah. And then it's about what is important to you now. We're in midlife. We've had lots of experiences. We might have had one career. We might have had many different careers. I myself have had several different careers. I'm a multi-passionate creative entrepreneur, and it's about working out what you stand for now and what do you want to be known for in this world. And I know for a lot of people I work with, what's also quite important to them is legacy. So the practical steps that I take them through is to just start writing down what they want to be known for and have like one simple sentence that says, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is how I deliver this transformation. And it can change. It doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't have to be that way forever. You can change it as many times as you like. Mine's changed several times in the last year before I landed on personal branding, visibility, and website design. But it was interesting because in my challenge this week that I'm running with my clients, I wanted them to be able to say in one succinct sentence, imagine you're sat opposite me in a coffee shop and you're explaining to a friend, what is it that you do or what is it that you stand for? And I want to hear just a natural flowing sentence rather than an elevator pitch, because I think we can all tie ourselves in knots when we're trying to think of our elevator pitch and we're put on the spot. And, you want something that feels natural. So like I've said, I get them through their values, their personal brand promise, who they are, what they stand for. And then I get them to think about their pillars, their stories, their wisdom, their experience, and to take one of those and to shape it into that experience, how that's helped them now do what they do or now want to do what they want to do.
Yeah, it's essentially being able to package it up, isn't it? Having your lived experience and going through that process so you're able to really articulate it in a short sentence once you've been through that process and you've got that clarity, just to have it documented, to have it written down, I think is such a great moment to get to, because then you can go forward with more confidence in terms of promoting the business and telling people what you do and how you help them, because you know yourself with a lot of clarity. So getting to that point can take time. It's so worth it.
Well, people will start to see your messaging so much more clearly when you go through this really simple exercise. You know, a lot of people, we're all posting on social media, promoting all of our things. And it wasn't until I got crystal clear on this that I realized that I was posting content with no meaning behind it, and it didn't mean anything. People couldn't relate to it. It's like, what was the purpose of it? It was taking up so much of my time, but it was just a waste of time, because so many people are now just scrolling through. They're not actually necessarily looking for what it is you offer. A lot of us scroll through social media mindlessly, not knowing what we're looking for. You know, it could just be an end of the day exercise where we're just trying to switch off and we're looking for a bit of entertainment. So really, you know, if you have a business and you're promoting things, then you need to be producing things that are relatable and that share your stories, because that's what people are going to remember you for and connect with you with and be more aligned and wanting to sort of find out a little bit more about you, and, you know, then go take it further and hopefully go to your website if you've got a website, or if you're working for an organization, you know, go to their website and find out a little bit more about what you actually do.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all part of the customer journey. So one of the things that I think that you obviously do really well, Rachel, is helping women translate their life experience into a personal brand. And that's the process that you're helping people with. So how do you guide someone to turn their lived experience into something that feels aligned and magnetic, not only to them in terms of the alignment, but also magnetic to their ideal client?
I literally sit with them and share with them my personal stories. And it's through that process that they understand that their stories are important to share. And they get so much knowledge from what I'm sharing with them. And when I first started, I was like, no one's going to resonate with my stories. No one's going to relate to what I've got to say. Everybody goes through things in life. Everyone has, you know, experiences of various different things. So what is it about me that will make them want to work with me and what have you? And it's through doing that process that they understand that their stories are magnetic and they're what people relate to. And it's as simple as that. Just get them to start to write down. I have 3 pillars, and I say that it's your story, your perspective, your wisdom. Just write one sentence for each one, and see what you can come up with for that. And it really helps.
Sure, it does. Yeah, I think it's great stuff to do, to go through the process, be able to articulate your lived experience and then put it into marketing messaging to attract your ideal client and your audience. So thank you, Rachel, so much. I've really enjoyed this big breakdown, and I hope you have done too, if you're listening at home or in the car or out for a walk in the park. I hope it's helped you in terms of really understanding your lived experience and how you can use that to articulate up-to-date values for yourself and for your business. So with that, we're going to move on to the next section of the show, which we like to call Buzzword Bingo. So here we are, Buzzword Bingo. This is the part of the show where we take a term that usually gets thrown around a lot, and most people don't understand what that term or that acronym is. So this is our chance to shine a clear light on it. So today's buzzword, well, we have mentioned it already in this podcast, and I'm going to go across to Rachel, though, to introduce what that buzzword is and what it actually means. So over to you, Rachel.
So today's word is imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is that voice in your head that tells you you're not ready yet. It whispers things like, who do you think you are? Or you're going to get found out, or you're not good enough. And it's simply not true. But almost every successful person has heard that voice at some point. And the difference is that confident people don't wait for that voice to disappear. They move forward anyway. So they feel the fear and do it anyway, because confidence isn't absence of doubt. It's the decision that your voice matters, even when doubt shows up.
I love the definition there. And the term which you mentioned, Rachel, fear the fear and do it anyway, is a mindset shift to have. So don't live with the fear, just do it anyway, because I think that really aligns with what we say here at Fuzzled in terms of a messy start still counts. Just get out there and put it out there, and you can refine as you go along. So, imposter syndrome. Thanks for stating and with a lot of clarity what imposter syndrome is. Maybe you resonate with it a little bit if you're listening as well. Let us know in the comments about imposter syndrome in terms of, do you come across imposter syndrome in your own business when you were first starting out? Maybe you've been in business for quite a while now, but you still have a little bit of imposter syndrome now and again. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So let's move on to the next section of the show, though, which is called What Would You Do? So here we are with What Would You Do? And in this specific scenario, it's what would Rachel do? So let's imagine a scenario, Rachel. You're starting again from scratch in your field that you're working in now. You still have the knowledge, but not the audience, the platform, or the visibility. So what would you prioritize first? And what would your first steps look like?
So as we've already alluded to, I would definitely start with a clarity session to define your values, your voice, and your purpose, because that is the foundation that makes every next move so much easier. Whether it's clarity around your offering or your messaging or your visibility strategy, you would definitely need to start with a clarity session. And that's one thing I would 100% absolutely make sure I start with if I had to start over again.
I think that's always the best place to start. Actually having some diagnosis and then gaining clarity. So I think that aligns with everything we do here at Fuzzled as well to help you get to clarity. Let's move on then to our favourite section of the show, I think, which is marketing fails and holy moly moments. So, marketing fails and holy moly moments. So, this is when we put a spotlight really on some of our marketing fails, but we don't think marketing fails is overwhelmed. It's not a bad thing to have a marketing fail. It's basically a misapplied effort in unclear systems. That's how we like to phrase the fail. And a triumph is clarity and better design at the end of the day. So, Rachel, I know that you've mentioned when we've talked beforehand about an early moment around publishing your first book. So do let us in on that story.
So yes, 100%. I totally agree with you. My early moment was when I was self-publishing my first book, and I got so into the detail of writing and obsessed with the writing that I didn't really understand the marketing process that should go alongside of it. And so when I published my book, I was very proud of myself. I launched it, but I launched it to absolutely no one. Nobody knew about it because at the time I didn't have an online presence to speak of. And I literally launched it to no one. And whilst it's been a success recently, that's only because I've implemented the systems and the marketing now. But I really wish that I had had a strategy alongside my launch and making sure that everybody knew that this book was coming to make it an instant success. So yeah, my first marketing fail was putting so much effort into something that took me well over a year to write and then launching it without an audience to absolutely no one.
I think there's a lot of learning there as well. I think you go from what we call a marketing fail. I don't think it is a fail, but it transcends into the holy moly moment as well, in terms of the realization that holy moly, we actually need an audience here. So then you can start to build the audience And it's great to hear that you've now got the success of your book. And of course, with a book, it's always there, isn't it? It's evergreen, so you can promote it all of the time. I think we've all been there, though, launching something into silence, only for us to have to build the audience. But it's great that, as I say, it's great that we've got the assets, so that when you have got the audience, you can then market your book or whatever you've got to the audience again. So before we close, where can people find you, Rachael, online, and what are you currently offering as well? Do you have a freebie that you can offer today, or can somebody book a free consultation with you? Let us know how we can get in touch and how we can work with you.
So I do actually have a free offer, and it's called the Confidence Reset, and it's my 3-day, 10-minute-a-day audio and workbook series for anybody who's struggling with confidence at the moment, who wants to step into their visibility but isn't quite sure yet. And so my free offer is my 3-day Confidence Reset audio and workbook series, and it's available at my website, rachellawrence.co.uk.
Amazing. It sounds so valuable. So we'll put the link there to your freebie in the show notes. So do make sure to check out the show notes to learn more about Rachael and to grab that offer as well. And is there anywhere in particular where people can follow you online? You mentioned your website. Could somebody also follow you on social media?
I'm across all the platforms, Rachael Lawrence UK on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm also on LinkedIn as well.
Love it. Okay, so yeah, again, we'll put those links in the show notes as well. So go and check them out and follow Rachael online. So Rachael, thank you for joining us today. I've really enjoyed our discussion. I think there's a strong theme that has run through whilst we've been chatting as well, and that is that reinvention doesn't erase experience. I think your experience actually fuels your reinvention. From your lived experience, you can organize that as well and really make the most of it. So we should celebrate it. So thank you so much again for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And for everyone listening as well, as always, thank you for listening all the way to the end. Just remember, until next time, that structure beats hustle every time. Thanks for listening to Fuzzled, where structure beats hustle every time. If today sharpened your thinking, you'll enjoy my weekly Friday feeling emails, calm, honest reflections with practical structure you can build around. Join the Marketing Clarity Club at paulculshaw.com, and I'll see you in your inbox. Take care and keep building with structure.